I joined because I just love being in a team where everybody kind of has the same likes and differences, because we all kind of are nerdy and like to game and have fun.
I believe in STEM. I think it's great for kids. It's hands-on. It teaches them how to problem solve.
I want to be a robotics engineer when I grow up, and I feel like this will give me a good thing to put on my college application, and B, will give me a good jump start on programming and building robots.
Yeah, I would consider myself a gamer. I've been a gamer since video games came to the home, you know, when I was a little kid.
Gaming provides young gay people who may not be comfortable with themselves an outlet to be themselves that is totally forgiving, totally accepting, and you get to be anyone you want to be.
I definitely came out as a gamer first because I think being a gamer was so much a part of my closeted identity. It was something safe I could do and love at home, away from people who might make fun of me or who would make me feel different.
Visibility is the way in which an industry says that we recognize that you exist. When you get acknowledgement that you are the intended audience for something, it makes you feel like you're a part of it.
The gaming industry has tended in the past to really cater to a heterosexual male audience.
Diversity is incredibly important. It's important to me. It makes a real difference to me when I play a game if I can see myself somewhere in the game.
I think there's a slow surge in them starting to recognize that LGBT gamers are actually just as equal to, you know, the straight community as far as numbers are concerned.
The next step is going to have to be that they have to actually write well-written, fully fleshed out characters that are queer in games, and there's very, very, very few games that actually have that.
We don't need a reason to change video games. There needs to be a good reason not to, because this is about reflecting our society and connecting with our stories.
I really think that we're in an exciting moment in games, and we should be asking, what can games do? How can we create new experiences with games?
Welcome, welcome, episode 55, Ladies of the Round Table, under one banner. I am live with my ladies. All right, we're going to play this game again. We're going to spin the wheel. We have page 6 somewhere.
Hi. I'm around. I'm on the top left, I think.
All right. And Miss Pixie. I think she's that way. And then Regality TX, Kim. No, maybe that way.
I'm in the middle.
And myself, Shrivasta, and Nikki is not with us tonight. We wish her Godspeed. Don't drive too fast trying to get home, girlfriend. You're good to go. And guest of honor at the table. Yes, it's a man, guys. We do bring the male gender in. It's not all about the ladies. Mr. Philip Jones, welcome to the table.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Zombie said, yo, that beard.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Right? We're going to get
I think
right
his beard's going to be a hot topic
right?
tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, right to it, keyword beard today, right to it. We're going to talk about that beard. So
Hashtag beard.
Right? All of you who want to talk about the beard, throw your beard questions in the chat. We'll get at them. But before we do that, I want to ask you ladies, how has your week been? Kim, let's start with you.
I had 2 tests this week. So it's been an eventful week. I've been studying my butt off. It's about near the end of the semester, so we've been really working. Because we started streaming on Origin last weekend. So, hooray. So pretty much going from last weekend until right now, we've been doing something almost nonstop. But also, in our teeny tiny free time that we've had, Macy and I have been playing Animal Crossing because she got me a new DS.
Oh, she got you the DS. Oh,
yeah, she did. So sweet.
That's gamer love right there, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and 6. You know, we know how your week's been. You're a little under the weather.
I've been doing some stuff though. When I am conscious, for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter and know that I'm sick, I actually started a new job, so I had to get myself out of a stupor to go to my first day.
Is that where you got cooties? Yeah, probably.
No, I was sick before that. And then I've been playing Borderlands the pre-sequel with my boyfriend.
And streaming, by the way.
I tried streaming it. Oh, that was such a failure. We had no idea what we were doing. We're actually much better now, and I probably should be streaming it from, like, now that we know what we're doing. But,
hey, now you know the experts are sitting right, you know, you're in between 2 experts, Kim and Pixie, so if you ever get stuck, you could always ask.
Oh, no, the thing is, it's like, I didn't even know how the game worked. I was just I just went on to stream and, like, made a character. Like, never touched a Borderlands game before. That's the best kind of stream to watch
when you're a noob. You're like,
I mean, like, I don't know. He was like, do you want to stream it? I'm like, yeah, sure. People who watch my stream, I don't know why they do it. It's just me kind of sitting slack-jawed playing the game. It's not like I don't know. I don't know why people come, but some people like it.
Pixie, how was your week?
A lot of streaming. I keep messing up my sleep schedule, and I'm like, I got this. I'm just gonna stay up like 24 hours and fix it. And so the other day I stayed up like 24 hours, and then some.
That's your
immediately messed
2015,
it up
man. Your
again.
sleep schedule. It's a
Yeah,
mess.
it's literally just like I don't sleep. Sleep is for the dead and the weak. I'll do that at some point later on in my life, maybe. I don't know.
So, Philip, we've got some beard questions already hot off the presses for you. So, Kim, throw up those beard questions, would you please?
Lots of people want to know, how long did it take you to grow your beard?
How long did it take me to get it this long?
Yeah.
I mean, I probably haven't trimmed it in over a year now. I used to keep it sort of shorter. I've been growing a...
Can confirm this is not a 6-month beard. If you said it was 6 months, you are wrong, Lethal Prime.
Lethal Butt is not
I'm
right.
looking at you, Lethal Butt.
I don't know how much longer it's actually gonna go. This seems to be sort of where it sort of wants to max out right here. But I've been growing a beard since I was 17.
Woo, for those of you who are 17, 21 with no facial hair, a table for one, envy for you.
Do you condition your beard? Do you use any like special products, beard oil?
I do. Yes, all of the above.
Oh,
What kind of beard oil do you use? Do you make your own,
Hey,
or
we
do you
can't
use a brand?
We can't be talking about the brand names now.
No brand names. It's very similar to just, basic natural skin oils and hair products. It's not too much different just because it's a beard. It's just hair.
So we can confirm there's no mane and tail going on. There's none of that Walmart special stuff.
You should make your own beard oil. It's way more cost effective.
I actually know people that are making their own beard oil and have wanted to send me samples and have me sort of promote their products. So I don't know. I feel like I kind of want to sit and wait for a better deal. I want to see. I want to see what
be on
kind
the
of
bottle.
Yeah. I don't know. I get a lot of attention for it, so
Wow. Kim, any other questions up in there?
Yurik does want to know the brand names.
Oi. Well, we'll type them in chat, okay? We'll type them in chat, and you can check them out yourself, because we can't throw out some brands that we're endorsing here. We may throw up there in the chat.
We can't endorse anything.
Do you use biotin?
No.
Do you use? Would you say it works well for the urban beardsman?
I would have to agree with that statement.
All right, way to go, girls.
There we go.
I think I figured out.
So the rest of you peeps that want to have those beard questions, hashtag beard with your question, and we'll get it in there eventually.
We have to do
one more. All right, go ahead.
Do the one that we always do.
All right, go for it.
Which flavor of cupcake would you most like to have your beard smell like?
Take your time. Take your time.
The beard oil that I already actually use right now actually strongly smells like cookies. So can my answer be I would prefer cookies instead of cupcakes?
Most definitely.
Okay. I think that's what I would do.
That's a sound response.
Your beard should have its own mustache.
I've got a little bit,
It's Beardgate. Instead of Nipplegate, we're doing Beardgate today.
Oh my goodness.
All right,
I
so
think I'm on the right episode.
You are on the right episode, right? We were mixed up. Let's tell all the peeps in the chat who you are, why you're here, if they don't know you, other than the epic beard, because, dang, we could have just booked you for that, but you got much more than that going on.
It's a special skill. No, I have been working in the games industry for a little over a year and a half now, focusing in queer activism and doing that in a bunch of different areas. Primarily, I'm best known for I directed this documentary film called Gaming in Color, which is a feature documentary that explores the LGBT movement in video games and the rise of queer themes in video games, queer developers, and things like that. I also work on the yearly Gamer X convention that takes place in the Bay Area that a lot of people know about. And I'm also developing with our team a video game upcoming called Read Only Memories that's going to be coming out in summer.
Ooh, well, if you're ever looking for some alpha beta testers, the girls and I, we volunteer our services. We love some indies. We do very much.
We're indie. We're so indie.
We love it. So you've been working in the industry for a little under 2 years, and is this one of your only passions, you know, diversity and equality, or do you have some other skills, like are you actually a developer, or are you working in another capacity at, you know, where you're working?
Oh, my day job is working on the game. I do all of our scripting in the game. I do some additional writing. I lead the editing. I lead the QA. So
Jack of all trades.
a
Okay.
lot of stuff like that.
That's
Well,
pretty
it's
cool.
all really text based. Our programmer Ted Denola has made a really wonderful text system that we use for our game, and it's been really simple, and I've learned it very quickly, and we've made a lot of cool things happen. It's a point and click adventure game. It's very dialogue heavy, story based, lots of fun. So yeah, I mean, I work on the game primarily is my day to day, and then the convention and the film are more artistic and, you know, things that we get to just, you know, have fun with and get inspired by.
So obviously, up until this point in time, there hasn't really been a whole lot of LGBTQA representation in games and in the gaming community. Do you feel like some of that comes from a lack of understanding with games companies being, you know, slightly of an older generation? And, you know, modern social acceptance? Do you feel like those are things that are updating with the times, or do you feel like that's something that still needs to be pushed heavier?
I think it's going to be a fight that's going to require push for, you know, as long as we can imagine. I mean, as things become more politically, as they gain politically, and, you know, more things, you know, LGBT freedom in America, then, you know, the game developers, there's a lot of fear is basically where it comes from. There's a lot of fear. They don't want to be, you know, the ones known as the company that's, you know, doing the gay stuff and things like that. So it just has to be more well accepted and, you know, talked about. And we try to, you know, foster the community that's really fighting for that, and, you know, keep it an active topic, and keep people's attentions on it, and keep people thinking about it, and keep bringing attention to it. So I wouldn't say that it's an older generation. I just think it comes from fear. It comes from, you know, people don't want to try and do it wrong and then, you know, be known as, you know, a bigoted company or whatever. They don't want to face, you know, the critics that, you know, will come out if somebody makes a mistake, and everybody makes a mistake. And that's something that you have to go through when you're trying to, you know, increase your diversity and learn more and be more representative of actual people, and, you know, connect with your audience. And I think that there's a lot of progress the company's been making, and there's still a long way to go.
Awesome. I would have to ask you, you know, as an LGBT gamer, and also just being a lesbian, you know, I see a lot of LGBTQIA stuff coming out, and mostly in TV at the moment. Do you think that because the gaming industry is just ginormous. Right. I mean, do you think that we would need more development in TV, and especially in maybe something for younger audiences, because there is a big bulk of the gaming industry that are people who are younger? Should we have more of a gay influence in? So let's take, for example, The Legend of Korra just had its first LGBT relationship, and, you know, that's been taken both ways. People really loved it, or people really didn't love it. Right. So do you think that we should kind of gear more in terms of TV as well? So when we bring that to the gaming world, LGBT can be more widely accepted by people?
Yeah, I think that the key is to have it be involved in the mainstream. So, you know, gaming is the fastest growing medium of entertainment. It is the biggest one on the planet right now. Unfortunately, gaming is way behind in issues of diversity and, you know, social representation in comparison to other mediums. Like, there are queer film festivals going on all over the world all the time. I know my film has been at a couple of them recently. There are queer libraries. You know, there are these sorts of vehicles that facilitate these, you know, more diverse and more new, unique sorts of stories and experiences going on. Gaming doesn't have that. And if it's there, it's very, very, very small, and it's not, well known about at all. Most gamers aren't going to see it. So, when there are things like Legend of Korra or Modern Family or, any sorts of mainstream well-known shows that have these sorts of topics and new types of people that are just, introduced and treated normally, then that is how people, grow out of their bigotry, and they learn to, treat people equally and love and, accept and, all that fun stuff. So whether TV and films and literature being diverse have an impact on games, I'm not really sure, because I see it in literature, I see it in film, I see it in TV, but I don't see it in games. I don't see the connection there. I would like there to be, people that see the TV shows and and then that would correlate over to games. But unfortunately, most developers are still marketing almost all of their products towards this heteronormative white male young audience who isn't going to want those things or like those things or care about them very much. So they're not going to crusade for them to be included. I think that working with children and getting them involved in games and tech and learning about these things, and especially queer kids, there's this really cool company called Maven who does tech camps, and they do focused on queer youth, and I got to go to one of them and speak for the kids, and the kids actually really, and I've gotten this a bunch every time that I've spoken, the kids really enjoyed learning how young I am, and they sort of were able to relate to me better, and they were able to see, well, he's not, some professional who, got a degree and went on to work at a big company. Like, he's, young and indie, and, so they see that it's something that is possible for them to jump into, and and that's good, because then they'll be able to grow up and be smarter than me and get all those really sciencey tech jobs and be able to express themselves there and be able to actually put up a real good fight for diversity from inside the major companies.
Kim, any chat questions?
Irk said, I'd agree with Philip for sure. However, we have to consider that there are a lot of games genres where this cannot become an issue, as it doesn't apply to, say, Tetris in any games without any actual characters.
Yeah. That's a comment that we get very often, is like, people can sometimes misconstrue our arguments as saying that we want queer, representation or queer topics in every single game, and they'll be like, well, I don't want, FIFA or whatever, my Madden games, or how would you even make that work in a Call of Duty? And I'd say, well, have you played the recent Call of Duties? They're getting very, very narrative focused, which is a good thing. But there are certain times and places where it's applicable, and when it's not, we could just all be treated as people,
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point, and I wrote it in the chat, that I think there's a lot of people that I see who accept ideas of, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind having gay narratives, or I wouldn't mind these things changing, but they're not in a position where they would care to crusade for them.
Right.
And I think that that's something that, the way that you put that was beautiful, it was very eloquent, and it pinpoints exactly what the issue is for people who don't feel represented. They
Right.
feel as if they need to crusade for their representation, whereas people aren't necessarily blocking it, but they're also not creating it,
Right.
at least not at a point that they feel.
Right. It comes
encompassed.
from world building. It comes from character design. It comes from story writing. The mindset that these people will go into when they're writing a story or creating characters, will be shaped by the types of people they are and the types of experiences that they've had. So, if
Yeah.
I was just a straight white dude developer working on the next Call of Duty, and I wanted to make a story that I thought would be super cool, and I thought all my gamer bros would find super cool, then I would write something that would be super cool like that, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. So, I mean, a lot of the times that we see diversity in the major AAA titles, primarily this is coming from BioWare these days, is due to queer people in the companies. David Gator, big proponent of gay storylines in all of the recent BioWare games, and it comes from that,
Imagine that.
So we've talked a lot. We've had conversations a lot about how women aren't represented in a lot of games.
Right.
And one of the things that we've talked about is whether or not we should allow like gaming companies, bigger gaming companies, to put in character customization so that you can be male, female, African American, white. How would you feel if it was put in where your storyline was customizable in whether or not you wanted it to be homosexuality or whether or not you wanted it to be straight? Would that be an acceptable avenue?
It has been. I mean, that's certainly been a thing that has happened in games, like, you know, particularly Mass Effect. You know, we talk about this a lot in the film. It's the character creation sort of dilemma where having character creation is good. You know, everybody wants to see themselves represented in the game. They want to play as somebody that they'd like. They want to play as somebody that they feel familiar with. So people are going to make characters that they enjoy. That's all well and good. The problem is that most times when you can be somebody who is diverse or queer or a person of color or a woman in a game, it usually comes from character creation. And the issue there is that most games that have well-constructed narratives and have these well-established characters that, you know, will speak or, you know, have character traits are going to be, you know, white dudes. So when there are games that have like a woman in the lead role, you know, we have Tomb Raider and we have Mirror's Edge, and, you know, those get a lot of attention because, well, there's a woman. But in a lot of the games that don't get attention for having diversity, they have character, you know, creation where you can just be whatever you want, and then your character is just sort of going to be an avatar of yourself, and their personal lives and their experiences and their character traits aren't going to be as fully fleshed out in the narrative because they're just, you know, this avatar that could be, you know, replaced with any other different type of person in any other different situation. So you're not going to really get the full, you know, representation and the full experience of living this person's life and playing a different type of character. Because, you know, even if a dude wanted to play as a woman, you know, they could play Mass Effect or play Pokemon, you know, Pokemon is a good example, or Animal Crossing, and they could pick, you know, the woman character, but the game is going to play the exact same way. The story is going to transpire the same way, or there might not even be a story in a lot of these games. So, you know, it's good. You know, you want to be able to dress up the way you want and look the way you want and be able to, you know, feel satisfaction within yourself. But there's always going to be a problem of these narratives aren't going to be, you know, fully fleshed out. There's not going to be a story that's specifically written around, you know, this person's life and the challenges they face, or, you know, just their life removed from whatever sort of, you know, minority status that they might have, but still, you know, have a story that is based around them as a character and not something that you created yourself.
But I mean, do you feel like that's an issue with Mass Effect? I feel like Mass Effect has enough variations between your interactions in the game, as I like to call them, that the stories are still fleshed out really well, but they are variable.
Are you talking about for like the gay relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, for the gay relationships.
I say interactions because you eventually there's sex.
Right.
And I wanted to PC.
Adult things. Right.
Adult things.
Adult things. No, the queer content in Mass Effect was actually, for a lot of the paths, was actually written specifically for, you know, these two characters, was actually designed really well. The problem is that a lot of people who are queer gamers want to have a game that is written around a character that is not either default or gay, right? It would be great if there would be a company bold enough to have a protagonist that is queer, that is just queer, you know, that where it wouldn't always be optional and something that the majority of gamers get to opt out of and not experience, you know, because having to actually play as a gay character or having to actually experience the life of a type of person that's not like you, and maybe you know, someone that you might have, you know, stereotypes about, or a certain level of bigotry. You know, there's a lot of different people that play video games, and actually having an avenue for them to be able to relate to a character and be able to experience the emotions of the game through that character, despite whatever type of person they are. You know, that would be a really good thing to have as well.
Go ahead.
I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Okay.
So one of the things that people constantly complain about is, not being represented in video games. From minorities of color to, minorities of gender to sexual orientations. And the thing that I think is really important is that if you want to identify with the characters that you're able to, do you feel like that's actually fair? Do you feel like it would be fair to I mean, I understand that you can always opt out of buying a game. That's something we've all done at some point in time. We've been like, screw this. Did it with Bloodborne. Like, do you feel like that's something that is really pushing for the ideal of having, representation in games without forcing representation onto other people? Because at that point, it kind of goes in reverse. You're forcing your representation onto another person when you've been forced to play the representation of another person for so long.
Is the question, would it be unfair for a straight person to have to play a game where their character is a gay person? I would say that historically, the experience has been largely opposite.
Absolutely.
For queer gamers. So, and it doesn't have to be every game. There are games like Gone Home is a good example where the entire narrative,
fantastic.
The entire narrative of that story is you're not playing as the queer person, but the whole story is learning about their life and their experiences about being queer. So in that game you might as well have been playing through the story, even though it's not at the present time. You're still learning about it and experiencing it as a narrative chain. So I mean, I don't see it being unfair to straight people for having to play as a gay character as a protagonist. I think it could be a really useful vehicle for making people more open-minded and getting people to really connect with, and maybe even surprise themselves with how much they connect with this person for being queer, and they can compare that to whatever other struggle is going on in their life and form that sort of connection. And I think that that's going to be a really powerful way to actually get more diversity in the industry through both jobs and within the narratives of the games.
So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and while I'm doing that, Kim, if we have some chat questions, just go ahead and flag me in the chat. I want to talk to you about the time frame and how long it took to put this all together. I mean, the film and documentary itself, because I know a lot of people don't understand that you don't do this in a 6-month period. This takes a lot of planning and no sleep and travel to get all these interviews done in this type of capacity as documentary. And my follow-up question to that would be, how difficult, or was it difficult, to find a studio that will allow you to make this in your vision and produce it?
Okay. So I could just give like a rundown of the film's history. So the concept of gaming in color existed before I was actually an employee of Midboss. And Midboss is the producing company that makes Gaming in Color, GamerX, and Read-Only Memories. They are, the company, and we do all these projects through them. So Gaming in Color was actually a separate product pitched by other filmmakers who heard of GamerX, because GamerX was getting a lot of press at that time, and they wanted to be able to document the story. They thought that, the gay gaming fight and community was a really cool thing that they wanted to preserve and make a film about, and that was cool. So, organizers of GamerX were like, sure, we'd be happy to have you come film at GamerX and make this happen. And by that point, Gaming in Color was pretty much tied in with GamerX. There were people that were working on both projects at the same time, and it sort of, became a Midboss project through that. Eventually, after the first convention, those original filmmakers decided that they were not going to work on the project anymore, and it was a Kickstarted film, so it was going to become one of those, dead Kickstarter projects that never actually was fulfilled. We didn't want to let that happen, so we got the film rights to Gaming in Color, and we decided to create it. And there was almost nothing there. The only thing that had been shot at that point was the convention itself. So yeah, we took the film rights, we undertook the project, and this was about August or September when Gaming in Color became a mid-boss project, and that was 2013. Our first release was April, so it actually was a very, very short time frame. All of the funding that we had through Kickstarter was expended by that point by the previous filmmakers from Filming Gamer X, which was a really big project. But unfortunately, the film had no assets, no resources to be continued. So we scrounged up, some of our own mid-boss funding, pumped it into the film, gave us a few extra months of shooting interviews because we had almost nobody in the film at that point. That's why our cast is so small. And worked really, really hard. We rushed, so, you said it wasn't a 6-month project, but it almost very well was for us with how much we rushed. And, we didn't have the resources to continue filming as long as we would have liked. But we're very, very proud of our cast that we were able to assemble. We hired this guy named Ryan Paul, who did all of the editing, all of the additional filming, all of the writing and storyboarding for the film. He was incredible, basically made the whole project come to life. I was just, overseeing it and directing, my vision into the film. But he made the magic happen. He's a really talented documentarian. I always try to, give him the respect that he deserves, because he really was a huge part in making the film happen. So that's basically the story of how it went down. A lot of our cast members are New York based, and that's where Ryan was living at the time. So we didn't have to actually travel for any interviews.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of them
That
were
saved you some budget right there, yeah.
right there in the city. We found a nice club that let us shoot in there, and everything came together really well and worked out in the end. And there are things that we could have done better. We wish that we had more time, more money, more people in the film, but we're really, really proud of what we made. And we were able to make a film with hardly any experience between myself and other mid-boss people except for Ryan. So
Kim, how's chat going?
So Yurik wanted to ask, he made a comment about the first issue that comes to mind is that I'm not aware of the numbers for how in demand LGBT games are. Without marketing data, it'll be tough to get a genuine opinion from any company. So do you have any marketing data is really what he's asking for. Have you gotten any?
No, I don't. Hard numbers are really hard to actually acquire. I went to GDC last month, and there was this panel by Ashley Birch, and they had displayed like these very like hard number calculations of like young girls and the types of games that they play, and that panel was so fantastic because they had all of these hard numbers, and they were like, here, go present this to companies. And I would love for somebody to be able to do that for queer gamers. All we know is that there are thousands and thousands of queer gamers and different groups for every city that do meetups every month in cities all over the world. There's one here. I know that there's San Francisco gamers. They have these gamer groups all over. There's Melbourne gamers, Sydney gamers. Those are huge over in Australia. They're all over the world. GamerX, both conventions, we've had over 2,100 people, both conventions so far. That's the extent of the community as in terms of numbers, as far as I know, is that it always feels very strong, and there's always a lot of powerful voices in the industry right now speaking up about diversity and making these things happen. There are people like Lee Alexander starting, Off-Worlds and making that happen and making a place for women, to be able to, do their jobs. And, the fight is growing, and it's getting more powerful every day. I just, I don't have the hard numbers on how many queer gamers there are, but I'm, anytime that a game has queer content, it makes the news. Everybody hears about it.
I mean, I'd like to think that as dialogues like this and others open up and people are more willing to listen, like you guys in chat are willing to have a civil conversation, educate yourselves or educate us and listen to what we're talking about, I think we'll see things become more prevalent, and maybe there'll be a little bit more of an easier way to get that data, because as we know, with our community as a whole being gamers, it took years for us to kind of come out of the closet or out of the basement, if you will, to be able to show the mainstream media that we are not a subculture, we are a culture overall. Right. So I think as that happens, yeah, go ahead, Philip.
And geek culture is becoming more mainstream day by day. We see it everywhere now. Everybody's a geek. Everybody's a gamer. Everybody plays something. Unfortunately, as that becomes more powerful and widespread, you know, the issues of diversity aren't really following up along with them, even though queer gamers have always been there, right? You know, it's just the same sort of thing that happens in society whenever anything that's, you know, vaguely judged as political comes out, then people try to remove themselves from it. But diversity issues in games are not a new thing. It's not something that's invisible. It's not something that companies are unaware of. They're very aware of it, and they see their peers in other types of entertainment, you know, making these breaking grounds, you know, making new discoveries, and, you know, making news for it and getting new fans, you know, all the time. Games have been sorely left out in that race, unfortunately. So, you know, we have sponsors at the convention. We've had Ubisoft, and we've had 2K and Gearbox and BioWare, League of Legends. Like, all of these really huge companies are coming to our convention and having a presence and getting involved with the community. They're aware of this. They know what's going on.
Pixie, go for it. You had your hand up for a bit.
Okay, so there are a couple of things that I think are really interesting in chat right now. So Ulrich, sorry, Ulrich is saying having an option for LGBTQA characters and protagonists is, in theory, not really an issue if you think about it, as long as it's done right. But the issue is if you want to make a game that focuses and aims towards the target audience of LGBTQA, the game is going to be more of a problem because you're going to have a diversified arena of types of gamers. You're going to have people who want to play FPS, MOBAs, etc. So I think that's a really interesting and great point. And then another thing is Lethal Butt. Thanks, Lethal Butt. You didn't actually make me mad, BT dubs. This is like when hardcore women get mad at Barbie games and puppy games marketed towards girl gamers. You can't really get too mad when there's not much marketing data, assuming you won't want that type of game over others, which is a really interesting point, because something that is missing from this conversation that Ulrich did want is actual data. We don't have any marketing data. And without that marketing data, certain decisions can't be made.
It doesn't mean that just because decisions,
like,
I want to rebuttal that. Just because decisions can't be made doesn't mean someone isn't going to take it at the forefront and try something just to throw it out in the water and see what ripples it makes. Because we obviously don't have any of that, and that's what, you know, some of these studios are trying to do, because they don't want to put something out there and then crash and burn, because they're people's livelihood.
I'm talking about in terms of like AAA titles. I always relate everything
that's a
back
whole nother story.
to big AAA titles, in that, you know, AAA titles are not going to spend money doing these things if we can't prove that these are valuable marketing tools.
Why would they? Because they're making money on what they're doing. They're not going to break that mold. Go ahead, Paige.
You know, this is something that you see in anything where a diversity has made its way to the forefront. You know, the content spans out. The content becomes more inclusive. And this is the same thing with books. This is the same thing with movies. And it's going to be the same thing with video games. You know, if you have somebody who is talented and they write a game about people who are gay or people who are women, you know, then people are going to play that game. And if somebody is going to be bigoted and not play it because they do not want to experience a gay experience, well, they are the problem with bigotry. They are the problem with prejudice. But the problem industries are allowing people's bigotry to set a course of direction. You know, that's stifling to me as an artist, to think that if I was to work with a AAA, if I was to work with a AAA developer studio because they wanted my talent as a writer and I had a story, that's stifling to me.
Well, just think about
you
that
know,
when you look at our look at our, which I'm going to throw it in here, and it's not a plug for us, but if you look at our advisory panel, we have women in the industry who are in the forefront of development of video games before video games were in your household, and that's what they had to go through when they were trying to create or be able to create. They were told no, they were shut down. You were to be a secretary or you were to be someone's assistant. Your storylines will never make it to a game. And it took them years, if not longer, to be able to say,
well,
I made this.
And this is a thing that I have an issue with all the time, is that, I had a person who is no longer my friend say to me, well, if you want women to have, more more representation in games, or you have to buy all the games with women in them. And I'm like, no, some games are just bad. And I don't care if there's a woman in it or not, if it's written badly. And unfortunately, most of the games that are geared towards women, which was in the examples, are just crappy games. And, it's we're coming to a time where when me and Kim and Carmen, Carmen, you were around for the arcade era. Since the arcade era, there's been a divide as to whether a lot of girls were given consoles for Christmas or what kind of games they were given, if they were given games at all. It was looked at as a masculine thing, and it was marketed as a masculine thing, and that's not happening anymore. Now, my daughter will get a console for Christmas. I did, but a lot of girls I knew didn't, and my mother, dealt with some shit for giving me those things.
But that's a double-edged sword when you talk about getting a console for Christmas, because a lot of parents will say, okay, I'll get you the console. Not a problem. That's not an issue anymore. But then they go into the store, and you should know this from working at GameStop or being in the retail, they go to the store and parents don't see a pink aisle and a blue aisle. They just see a bunch of masculine games, and they're like, I don't know what to do because I don't want my daughter playing shooters.
When you're a child, that's not an issue. When you're a child, games are very much gender neutral. My issues came when I started playing mature games and I was no longer being represented and I was no longer being put into those scenarios. And I was fine playing a lot of them, but there wasn't a lot of diversity in it.
So Paige, let me throw it over to Kim and ask Kim if she's had that same because you're Kim, your age range is a little bit different than mine or Pixie or Paige. Do you feel that when you decided, you wanted to play games or you want to go into console versus PC, did you feel like, man, there's really nothing for me to play? Or did you say, I like this game, I'm going to play this game? You really didn't even think about the gender issue.
Well, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I would say personally for me, and I feel like I'm definitely the minority on this, if there is a male and a female, and maybe this would change if there was an option for me to pick a female that was lesbian. But I always pick male. So I never really had the problem of being like, oh, I can't play that game because I don't feel connected to it.
Well, because for me,
it wasn't like I was necessarily connecting to the fact that it was the male gender. Just for me, it was just like, I like that guy. He's cool. I would want to be like him. And it would be the same thing if it was a female, because there is some games where I like that girl. She's cool. I want to be like her. Even though, she isn't lesbian. I don't know. But in terms of when I was growing up and seeing other kids my age playing games, I find, Paige said that her mom got a lot of crap for getting her video game consoles for Christmas, and that was not a thing. That was not a thing in my house. I always got video game consoles for Christmas. Video game consoles, video games, anything that came with it, my mom got for me. And, I did have a lot of other friends when I was in elementary school that were girls that had games. But, it was kind of the same then as it is now. I found that they would play I don't know. It was just, the only thing I can think of is the Barbie games. They'd have the Barbie games and you play. And it's funny, we went to a retro store a retro video game store probably a couple months back, and Macy saw the Pocahontas game, and she was like, "I want that." And that's also hard when you have some people that it's just some women that it just appeals to them. They're like, "Oh, I want that," but I think that's what people are misconstruing. Like, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with like that's the type of game they want. They just like that one specifically. You know what I mean?
Hey, like a lot of My Little Pony out there, I would play it. I like it. I like it a lot, you know? It's not because I like it because I am a female. It's just I happen to like the ponies. You know, Cooking Mama. You know, my kid hated Cooking Mama with a passion. I was a classically trained chef. I wanted her to play Cooking Mama like there was no tomorrow because she wouldn't touch food physically to learn how to cook. So I thought if I get her this game, maybe we could do this thing together. But no, it just didn't work out that way. So hopes and dreams crushed, you know, by another video game. I want to move on to any chat questions, and then I want to go to our first topic because we are already running into the first hour of the show. Hope you guys didn't have anything to do. If you got some snacks, refills, we're ready to roll into the next segue. Kimmy, chat questions.
I'm reading through because there was a lot that happened while I was talking.
I think that there's some
remember growing up
in the
and hearing a rumor that Chun-Li was lesbian until the movies came out, and that was put to rest. Pixie is a brony, hashtag confirmed, cool points equal over 9,000. I remember arcades as a kid, and it was 90% filled with boys. That was back in the early 90s.
Arcade love, yeah.
I mean, I worked for a comic convention, and there were comic conventions I went to where I was like one of two girls at the whole convention. You know, it's definitely changed a lot. And, you know, I could see that with the arcades too, but in my arcade locally, there were lots of girls all the time.
They were hanging out with their boyfriends. They weren't playing the game.
Oh, no.
They were hanging on to the machine.
The Dead.
But you know what?
Oh, that was the awesome game.
Sometimes that really helps.
We're getting asked a lot for a place to find information on the game you were working on.
Yeah, I was going to
like
go
a
to that.
consistent question.
But I want to segue that with the fact that we may not be able to talk a lot about the game because it is in development, correct, Philip?
Yep.
So if they want to know more about the game or more about the studio, you can find it over here. I'm going to give you some linky links and some Twitters and all that jazz so that you can go over and take a look at the information. And Philip, you can go ahead and talk about the game, please, because they're going to kill us if we don't talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, sure. The game is called Read Only Memories. It is a point-and-click story adventure set in a futuristic San Francisco in 2064. You play as a budding journalist and your friend goes missing, and this friend's personal robot assistant buddy comes and tracks you down, and you have to explore the city and try to figure out what happened to your missing friend. And there's a lot of a lot of conspiracy and a lot of things that going on with this, you know, this dark city. So the game is currently in production. We're shooting for a late summer release right now. It's going to come out on Steam for PC, Mac, Linux, and then also the Ouya, which is that cool little little
Ouya is one of our
console.
sponsors, so we know all about the Ouya.
We love Ouya. Yeah.
They are awesome. They're very, very open to a lot of different ideas and embrace change more than let's say AAA studios will.
Yep.
So
they've been working really hard with us. There's a lot of really cool pixel graphics, a lot of locations from San Francisco. There's a lot of music, a lot of character. One thing that we've pushed really, really hard is that there's a lot of queer representation, a lot of queer characters in our game that are presented in a really positive light, that have, you know, meaning in the story and are, you know, handled really well. A lot of comments that we get when we show the film or we talk about the convention is people say, well, if you want, you know, gay characters in your game, go make your own game. And it's really funny when they say that, considering one of the people in our game is one of the lead developers of League of Legends and actually is making his own game. But so we decided to do it. So we're making our own game, you know, and we are always keeping, you know, queer representation at top of mind. We're also just making a really fun game. If anybody's ever heard of Snatcher, it was an old game that was directed by Hideo Kojima, and that's sort of what we based Read Only Memories on. So there's
Interesting.
a demo coming out for the game in just a matter of days. The demo that's up on the website right now is actually out of date. We're going to be updating that with a brand new version with all of the updates that we've made in the last 6 months or so, and that will be coming out sometime next week. So keep your eyes peeled.
So have you already went through your alpha beta stage?
We're in beta right now.
You're in beta. So is beta still open or is it closed?
It's closed.
All right.
We actually released beta builds to people who backed our Kickstarter, but other than that, it is closed.
Do you have a Slacker backer program where if someone wants to back the game so they can get in, if you're going to be doing more testing, is that available?
No, not for betas, but we do have pre-orders up. So if anybody wants to,
Pre-orders up on the website, guys. I put that up there, midboss.com.
Midboss.com. That's also where you'll find information about the film and then also take you to the GamerX website itself if you want to attend our convention this December.
All right, so we are going to move over to Miss Page. Or no, let's say Pixie. I'm sorry. I apologize.
One of you peas.
One of you peas.
Oh!
Take it as you will.
Wow, I'm so offended. That hurt really, really deep. It's almost as hurtful as when my mom calls me.
I was trying to call Kim some kind of name that wasn't even close. So hey, there's like, some magic Kool-Aid in the cup. I just say
it's the win.
Yeah, it's the
win. So
wait, breaking news! Breaking news! I'm getting it in my earpiece here. It's Amazeballs.
Yeah, no, it is.
Everybody, take your shots.
There you go.
So, Daredevil officially premiered on Netflix, and oh my god!
Oh, you gotta get that screenshot of Pixie's "Oh my god" because it's just amazing.
So good! It is so good. First of all, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. Opening scenes are just like gorgeous. On top of that, it's really, really, really well cast. I don't want to give spoilers, but it's not really a spoiler. But Vincent D'Onofrio is totally Fisk, which just so good. And one of the men he's from Boardwalk Empire. He's from, I can't even remember, but I love Boardwalk Empire. So anyways, he's who is Daredevil. It's so well done, so beautiful, not at all cheesy and horrible. Like,
no, because we were gonna be upset. We were worried, right?
And basically, it's one of those things where, like, when Marvel Cinematic Studios touches something, it turns to like pure freaking gold. That's what this is. It is gold. If you have not seen it, you need to watch it. It is amazing.
Is it
absolutely amazing?
Is it a Netflix original?
Yeah. It is. It is absolutely a Netflix.
That's cool. I heard that it just came out. I've actually been watching Arrow on the CW, and that is I love that show. I just got through the second season.
So Pixie, let me ask you, how many Pixie cupcakes do you give it?
On a scale of what?
1 to 5. We're gonna go with 5.
5 million?
Well, the scale didn't matter.
Okay. So all right, so
it's a little dark.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised with how dark it actually was. But it's not,
considering that I was disappointed with Gotham. I mean, come on.
He was not Nucky or Eli. He was the right-hand man for a while of Nucky.
That didn't answer my question, but I think she's talking to chat. But anyway.
She is.
So, all right. So would you recommend this to the table?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, Nikki, if you can hear us, you're not here. Another thing to add to your list.
All right.
And apparently Urik's list as well.
Urik's list? Okay. Yurik is really killer. Yurik is trying to take that title. You've already lost it. I think you better get up with some chat salties in there because you're falling behind, dude.
Oh,
Kim,
it's Charlie Cox, and in Boardwalk Empire, he was Owen Slater, the right-hand man. Yeah.
Kim, are you gonna watch it based upon Pixie's recommendation, or are you already watching too much already?
I'm with you, because Yurik said, great, now I gotta catch up on like 50 series and 500 games after I graduate uni. This sentence for every college student ever. Because you're like, I want to watch it, I want to play it, and I can't. We just started watching Game of Thrones last night. Finally.
Oh, you mean you haven't watched any of it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, your life is
We've never watched Game of Thrones.
Kim,
we don't really
you
watch
know nothing.
Game of Thrones
You know
and
nothing,
Orphan Black.
No.
I know. We're so bad. We started watching it yesterday, and Macy could only watch 2 episodes because she was like, "This is very intense."
You might have to watch it without Macy, because it's really intense.
She was like,
it gets worse.
No, yeah,
it does. That's what people were telling us in chat today in the stream, and she was like, "Well, then I'm gonna need to take it 2 episodes at a time."
She's not gonna make it. I suggest Orphan Black for you too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, she said. She just said in the chat, the random boob was too much.
I don't want to ruin it. All I'm telling you is
just one.
All I'm telling you is there are some glorious full frontal nudes.
It's not for Macy, man. Macy's gonna have nightmares if she's season 1. She won't be making it through season 1.
All
I'm
asking is that we've seen the B, but she's really worried if we see the P. She's very worried.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on, because I really, wow. Philip, save me. Are you gonna watch Daredevil?
I'm going to watch Daredevil because I've been on a superhero craze lately. I've been playing some Injustice, and I got on that Arrow show. I guess I'm not gonna watch Gotham if y'all don't like it.
Hey, it's just me. I don't know if anybody else on the panel. It disappointed me.
It's not bad. I feel like in the grand scheme of like the superhero shows that are on TV and Netflix and stuff right now, like you've got Daredevil, which is like officially like my new top. Then you've got Constantine, which apparently is maybe not coming back.
Hey, it's not wrecking my life. It's not.
Then like back. Arrow, The Flash, and then Gotham.
Flash.
I need to start The Flash. I've been watching so much Arrow. I need to get into
Yeah,
The
you're
Flash.
gonna have to start.
It's really not. Gotham
Flash
really isn't
Arrow,
up to par with the CW. It's really not.
So let's move over to Kimmy's topic.
Okay, so I'm in some severe disdain with my topic. So while I was browsing the internet, I happened to fall upon this, and it's saying that Five Nights at Freddy's might be getting a movie.
Yeah.
As if the first 3 games weren't enough.
You played
play
all
the
3.
bear?
What are you talking about? Yes, with the bear.
Yes,
I want to play the bear.
I play all 3 because that is the most suggested game I get every single time one comes out. And we play it, we hate it, and we're like, here you go. Now stop asking.
You mean your chat wants you to play it?
Yes, my chat wants me to play it. Macy doesn't really even want to play it because we play it for about an hour and it's not scary anymore. So the movie better be at least an hour, because after that it's not gonna be scary. So
I don't understand how they're gonna make that game a movie.
So basically, Five Nights at Freddy's was the rights were picked up by Warner Brothers, and the film is going to be produced by Vertigo Entertainment's Roy Lee, which produced Run All Night, which apparently is out right now. I think it's got Liam Neeson in it. I don't know.
Yeah,
not a movie for me. Whatever. So, and then also Cat Smith Productions, Seth Graham-Smith and David Katzenberg, which did Beetlejuice 2. And then Kaufman, who's the developer of the game, said that the story really lends itself to being a movie, and it taps into a largely unexplored niche of horror that a lot of people will be able to relate to.
What?
Okay.
I enjoyed the... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll get on my soapbox and get off real quick. So, I cannot stand it. I saw it, and I wanted to punch my computer because I was like, why? Why do we know, and I understand there's a lot of stuff that that has gone unanswered. But I really, I mean, it's a good opportunity for them to take the fan lore and to put it into a movie. But also, there's so much fan lore, and this thing is ever changing. And I cannot imagine what this would be like if it came out as a movie. It's going to either be a hodgepodge of things, or people are going to be really pissed when it comes out. And I'm just like, no, I don't need it. I don't want it. Don't have it come to my theater, because I'm not going to see it. All right, I'm done. Philip, you can talk.
Yeah, Philip, I have no comment. Pass.
I haven't played the third game yet. I didn't even know there was a third game. That happened really fast. I played the first two, and I really enjoyed the games, not for themselves, but there actually was a very interesting narrative. And this was going on all around the same time as there were like all of these like videos on YouTube about like conspiracies and like just like unraveling the story of PT, which was that Silent Hills trailer that came out on PS4. One of the best games. But all that the same thing was happening for Five Nights at Freddy's, and I couldn't believe it because I was like, this just looks like some cartoony jump scare horror game. But there's actually like a lot of like underlying elements that like sort of ties a very interesting dark narrative between all three games. So I guess for that whole thing, you know, a lot of horror games like to have like those hidden like under stories, and you know, you have to do a little research to like figure out what the hints mean, and I guess they could make a film based off of that. That's why I enjoyed the games, was just figuring out what point in time you were, like who were you, and you know what was going on, how did this happen. There's a lot of things that they could explore.
Do you really think they could fill the standard movie time of an hour and a half to 2 hours with enough content to keep you
I can't even
in
play
that
the game
genre?
for 2 hours.
I mean, I know I can't watch it for 2 hours, and I'm not a horror person, but I know people who are, and they say that the game is not scary. It's like you're just repetitive over. Click the screen to click the TV. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I would go see it if it. And the directors, they're okay. In my opinion, not anyone else on the show, mediocre directors for the films that they've done. There's no one in there that's going to be able to take this storyline and make it go poof. And I'm like amazed at, and I said it, it's not going to be amazeballs for me. 6.
My topic, or you want to talk
No,
about
what do you think?
Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah. Five Nights at Freddy's.
I've never played a Five Nights at Freddy's game. So I was really shocked when I heard that it was up for a movie. I've never felt motivated to play it. I have watched Let's Plays of it because I was modding a channel who somebody was playing it around October. So it seemed okay. I didn't see anything special about it, though. Could somebody explain to me what's so special about Five Nights at Freddy's? Because I don't get it.
It's easily digestible. It's easily digestible.
Okay.
You can watch a few minutes of it. It's very interesting. A lot happens all at once, and there's a lot of tense feelings, and it's really good for Let's Plays.
The first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about it. Like, it totally makes sense for somebody that's not in video games to come in and look. There's this tiny indie developer, one dude, who comes out and makes 3 different games over the
I didn't
course
even
of...
know it was an indie game.
Yeah, it's Scott Cawthon.
That all makes a lot more sense to me now that it's an indie game.
The developer's name is Scott Cawthon, I believe.
I thought that it was a big
No.
You'd think
It's
that.
just
No,
blowing
that's
up
my
into
whole,
a big thing.
That's my whole point.
I did
is that,
not know that.
That's my whole point.
Then.
Is that somebody outside of games sees this one dude make 3 finished titles over the course of 1 year, and all of a sudden it's exploding. Like, this is on YouTube, like millions and millions of hits. Like, PewDiePie is playing this every other week, you know? Like, people are talking about this, and then when somebody from outside of games sees that, and they're like, whoa, this dude's like all of a sudden a legend. Everybody's talking about this. It's going everywhere. It's viral. Like, people tried to make movies out of the Slender Man once that blew up because that was everywhere and people were talking about that. Like, they're latching onto it because it's new and it's popular and nobody's doing it, but it's happened all of a sudden. It's fresh. A lot of people like it. It's really popular, so it totally makes sense.
So no one said that about Goat Simulator, and it was amazing. I still find it amazing. I'm in that game all the time. Come on, it's Goat Simulator. I don't get a movie.
I get to run around and lick stuff all day. Yeah.
I mean,
And you can
Goat
also be a
Simulator's
Goat
a big thing on
MMO
this
simulator,
channel.
so let's go
Right?
ahead and go that.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
I mean,
MMO simulator.
guys,
Although you can't
you
like
guys in
Tag
chat,
Simulator.
I think
So
we
we
need to
need
have
that.
a petition or something. Goat Simulator movie or Riot. Come on.
I don't know.
Straw
I haven't played too much of Goat Simulator, but Five Nights seems like it has a lot of lore and a lot of character to it, and
No,
it seems
it
to
makes a lot
be
more sense.
yeah.
Goat
Yeah,
simulator.
that makes a lot more sense.
I
now
mean,
that
come
you
on,
explain that to
come
me.
on, like an indie weekend horror film. Everybody's gonna go see that. Everybody wants to go see like the
Are
new
they going to go
crappy
into?
horror
Are
film.
they gonna go into like the whole idea of like the child disappearing and like?
I
Probably.
think
I thought there
I
was
think
like
they have to.
pedophilia lore to it, and like.
Oh
Are they
boy.
gonna,
I have a good question.
I think the thing with Five Nights at Freddy's is I think it's multifold. I think with such an insurge of technology, I think technology is kind of frightening. We're all frightened about our privacy, and stuff. I mean, it's like the movies with the dolls that come to life. Like those are always freaky as shit. Because everybody had those dolls. Like everybody remembers going to like Chuck E.
Chucky.
Cheese and
Or
shit,
Yeah.
where
being
there's
afraid
like
of
a
your
little
Furby.
animatronic.
Yeah.
Furbies
Animatronics.
are terrifying. Are you kidding me?
The angle is
The
super.
batteries are dead.
The angle is super easy to sell. It makes so much sense.
So
Hey, I'm just gonna throw.
I
I'm gonna throw Gremlins
a
out there
question,
to you
though.
people and just say, all right. So go
Okay,
ahead, Gimme.
So, but here's the thing. If it's going to be a horror movie, and let's just face it, a lot of the people who really like Five Nights at Freddy's are pretty young. I mean, when I get people that come into my channel that like Five Nights at Freddy's, it's normally people who maybe
under 18.
I think it's gonna be...
they're under 18. So, what exactly would you make this? How would you rate this?
I think it's gonna be like one of those Paranormal Activity movies. When Paranormal Activity,
see that.
like the first Paranormal Activity, where it's like stressful as shit because there's all of this weird, creepy stuff happening, but it's not gory. There's not a ton of it.
But the
I
thing
left
is
feeling so bored from that
But
movie.
Paranormal Activity was PG-13, and I think one of them was R-rated.
Because it had swearing in it.
Yeah. I mean,
Five Nights at Freddy's has no violence, no gore. There's no like explicit content there. The only thing is that it just has like thematic elements.
And you can make it PG-17 because of the language. You don't have to go straight up R. Because
I mean,
people.
if you watch,
Go
if you
ahead.
watch like a Halloween movie, aside from like the pornographic kind of elements to it, it's
Yeah, I mean-
everything's left to your imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and that's
mean,
what most of the best horror does.
Yeah.
People like gore and slasher, that's its own thing, but like some of the best horror is suspenseful because it's all in your head. You hear things, but you don't see them, and your
it's gonna be-
imagination is much more powerful.
It's probably
I could
gonna
see it
be
being
one of those like
psychological.
random. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those random combinations where it's like 80% stress thriller and like 20% jump scare, which is typically what the best horror is. It's in your head. It's super cool. It's super freaky. And then, there's there are the few moments where like shit jumps out at you and you're like, oh my god, I think I just peed my pants in this movie theater.
Although the one really exciting thing about this is there's one horror movie that really got me, and it was made by Vertigo, and it was The Strangers, and I think that that's a really good movie for what we're talking about. So I don't exactly know if these were the producers who made The Strangers specifically, but if it is, I will be really excited, and I probably will go see it. But still, all that lore crammed into that movie.
I'm excited to
Crammed
support games films. I think
Yeah.
that's a really
I-
cool
I
thing.
agree with
I'll
that.
I'll support it just for that.
Overall, I think everybody's in agreement with that. I mean, just because it is hitting mainstream, which is making us all happy in various places that we're not going to share with the world. You just use your imagination on that one.
I would go see it. I would
I'll
go
watch
see
it on Netflix.
purely for the fact that like
I'll watch it on
I like scary movies. Like I hate playing scary games. Can confirm scary games just terrify the crap out of me, and I have to stop playing them like every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I just get so stressed out. I do. I just get so stressed out. But like I love scary movies. The Conjuring, Paranormal Activity, like those are some of my favorite movies.
I mean, if
Conjure
I
is
was
the
gonna
other, right?
think of any other popular horror game that's out right now, like Amnesia or Outlast, I think that Five Nights at Freddy's works so much better as an idea for a movie just because of the angle that
It
it
does.
has with the costumes and the lore. Like Amnesia or Outlast, if those were movies, they would just be, basic, really generic horror movies just because,
The,
the interactiveness of a game doesn't really mean that the narrative and, the plot twists or whatever have to
the
be as
only
extreme as a film's.
the only other game I could think or that I could think of that I think would actually make a better movie than Five Nights at Freddy's is that it would make a great thriller, and it would be Among the Sleep by Krillbite. That game was, first of all, amazing.
Yep.
Second of all, it was super psychological. That would get in your head and mess with you horribly. Just playing the game itself got in my head and messed with me horribly. Like, I think that would work really well. The problem is, how in the hell are you going to get a toddler to do an entire movie themselves?
Yeah, I think that Among the Sleep works better as just an art piece because nowadays most horror films are set within a modern setting with, real people as the lead characters. And Five Nights could easily employ that. Among the Sleep, not as much because it would be more like a narrative experience going through, the story of blah blah blah. And that would work really well as an art piece, but maybe not as like a major film.
And like I said, Five Nights at Freddy's, it works so well for what people find scary. Because if you look at a lot of the scary movies that have been made over time, you have Annabelle, which is a doll. You're talking animatronic dolls with Five Nights at Freddy's. You have this supernatural element, because, like, how in the hell are they going to come to life if there's not something kind of supernatural and creepy and freaky about them? You have the technology. Look at all of the scary technology movies where, like, technology rules the world. You've got, it's not even a scary movie, but you've got Nine by Tim Burton. You've got VHS. You've got The Ring.
Nine was by Tim Burton? I think that was just his studios.
It's Tim Burton. Yeah. You've got the new movie Unfriended that's coming out where, like, you have all of these things that involve technology because technology is big and scary and we don't want robots to rule the world. I mean, even simple movies like
the Disney movies.
Some of like the zombie movies are based around technology. 28 Days Later started off because they were doing medical experiments, which is technology. And then they created these rage monkeys who then infected, crazy liberal animal rights people. I'm sorry, but that's what it was.
All right,
in
Pixie.
movie.
I'm throwing the mod hammer down because you're gonna keep going. I know you. We're gonna move on to my topic. And my topic, before I spit it out because it's a long one. I want to give you guys a little background on this story. If you don't know about what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we're all sitting here doing this week after week, go over to lortnation.com and check out the website and look at our LORT Nation STEM Education Scholarship Foundation, and it will tell you all about why we sit here and talk about games and ask you to help us with diversity issues in our community overall, gaming and technology. It's just a little bit of what we like to do is help others out, particularly women in gaming, because we are a bunch of ladies sitting at this table. We want to work with children to engage them using video games that we love, to inspire them to hopefully one day go to university for a STEM or STEAM field, and that's science, technology, engineering, or math, to be able to work in the industry and create some longevity for us, because these games don't make themselves, guys. There's people in the industry that have been doing this for 10, 20 years that will no longer be able to make these great games for us. And if we don't inspire the younger kids behind us to get in the mix, we won't have these things to play. We'll keep having the same boring content or the same games being rebooted over and over, and we won't be able to, evolve into what we all want, which is a better storyline, better graphics, better artistry, all those things that make us want to be immersed in gaming in our culture. So my topic I stumbled across the interwebs, as Kimmy says, happens to be about a 12-year-old young lady by the name of Madeline Messer. Madeline managed to finagle a op-ed piece in the Washington Post this week as a 12-year-old, which is pretty amazing all in itself. But her piece was based upon taking the Disney company to task over some issues with a free-to-play game that she did not like. Basically, her parents let her buy a app package off of the iTunes store, which was 50 of the top 50 free-to-play RPG shooter games for app on your phone. Which is what, $40 or something like that? I'm not sure what it is. She talked her parents into getting it. As she's going through these free-to-play games, she decided, man, you know, there's a lot of these games that either I have to pay for something to unlock something or play something, and this is kind of strange, but she stumbled into a free-to-play game that is called, what was it? I'm sorry, I'm going to my notes here. I apologize. Disney game, which was Temple Run. You know, and Temple Run makes, I think there's several versions of this game, and she's like, I can't even play a female if I wanted to, which kind of was amazing to her that she couldn't play a female. Then she looked at, how do I get to unlock this female character, because I started off as a male, and she noticed that she had to pay for it. But in paying for it, it was well over around $30 or so to unlock this, $29.97 to be exact, to unlock this female character, which she then decided to devise a method to her madness, taking a bunch of pie charts and a bunch of data, putting it together to show her parents that she wanted to write someone, being Disney, to say, this sucks. Why do I have to pay $30 to unlock a female character when the average for most games is about $7 to unlock a female character? And then she got even more mad when she did the statistics, because 18% of the characters that she was able to play in each of the game were based upon animals or monkeys or whatever, and then only 46% of those 50 games offered female characters in general. So she was like, all right, forget it. I'm mad. I'm going to write this op piece. She took Disney to task. Disney actually had the primary developer on the game make a comment and say that they were embarrassed to find that this pricing was the way it was, and that you even had to pay for this at all, and told her in a quote, we will make sure that we make those appropriate changes. We thought we were doing something to better, you know, the diversity rules, which we failed, and they're giving her that character unlocked for free. And I think that's all I've been able to find thus far. There wasn't any comments back and forth, but I find it amazing that this 12-year-old girl found this problem, decided to do her own research, convinced her parents to let her make, you know, write these letters, and then move forward into mainstream press, because she felt she didn't have the diversity that she wanted in being able to play these games and play them without being ripped off, in other words. So let me start with you, Kim. How do you feel about this young woman's plight of taking this pen in hand, and she was like, forget about it, I'm going to do the thing? Because I don't know if I would have did that at 12 years old.
So you said that all that she got out of it was that they gave her the female for free?
Well, they're fixing the game, but they said once they fix it, that she will not be charged, because I think she paid the $29. So they're going to take that charge away so she doesn't have to pay for it, and then they'll make sure that she's one of the first people to get to play.
Okay,
so,
and then are they going to...
They're going to re-release it, yeah. They're going to update, you know, do their patch.
And then they won't have to pay for and no one will have to pay for the female.
They didn't say if there was no charge at all, or are they going to go down to the average, which is $7, $8, to be able to unlock that character. Because with her research that she found is most of the games you start out as a male, no matter what, and then as you progress, you either pay or you progress to unlock, which is common in a lot of games, whether they're free to play or not.
Okay, and yeah, I agree with that. But also I feel like, shouldn't it be standard now, especially on games like Temple Run? Like, that's a mobile game. Like,
and an older game.
Yeah, and it's on a mobile device. You can play it on your iPad or your iPhone or whatever. I don't know if it's on Android. I don't know because I don't own one. But I mean, I think that that's really sad that we just aren't having male and female characters. Like, you can't choose either or. You must have to be a male. And I mean, and she said that 90% offer boy characters for free, and that's really sad. I mean, and kudos to her for actually going out and doing something about it, because I would have never noticed. And it's great that we do have people, and especially young girls, coming and saying, like, look, this is what needs to be changed. I mean, because that shows that once they get into the generation that's going to be running things, they're going to be analytical and hope that those things change and then change them.
What really amazes me is, and I want to cut page real quick. What amazes me is the fact that she took that and went further than she could have just complained to her friends. She could have complained to her parents, but she said that wasn't okay. I want to go further and I want to reach where these came from. With, those are 50 games. I mean, she had to have been doing a lot of data, a lot of research, a lot of numbers, and she's got charts. If you go on the Washington Post website, there's charts that she put together. They have images of her actually writing all this down and putting it all together and supporting her findings to be able to have the Washington Post publish her. So go ahead, Paige.
I think that before you mentioned that normally you don't normally play as a girl anyway. It's probably why you probably wouldn't have even noticed, wouldn't have even fazed you. But I think that the issue is that they only offer guys for free, and then they'll make you pay for a female, rather than maybe offering both, and then you could pay for costumes or skins or something along those lines. I think that that's probably where the red flag went off for the girl, where she was saying, oh, hey, I bought all these games, I want to play them, and then she sees these customization options and realizes, wow, this game could have been much more fun for me. And she that is a lot of work for a little girl. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
totally. she went that far.
That's more work than I would do right now. I'm almost 21 years old.
I've definitely made my own charts and examined things on my own, but that's some crazy work, and she really did make some changes. I'm wondering if they're going to refund people.
I don't know. There hasn't been a follow-up yet. Go ahead, Phil.
I don't know. Microtransactions are the trend that the industry is following, and I think that as that becomes more and more widespread and common, there's going to be these sorts of blunders that you see where things are priced incorrectly, and then things fall through the cracks when the developers think that the players are going to be able to access this one part, and that they're actually not, and the way that their payment things are set up causes problems for themselves. So, I mean, obviously the highlight of the story here is the brilliant girl who actually did research and reached out to the company and, made them aware of their error. So that's all well and good. There's obviously no reason that one character should be priced higher than the other.
Yeah, especially to that degree. That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, her comment was, it's not fair because I am being forced to play as a boy, and I'm like, what? Why? That's exactly what she said.
What kind of game was this? I'm curious.
Temple Run is one of those free run games where, I don't even know how to explain it. You're running forward, you have to swipe to go left, right, up, and down, all this.
It hasn't been really popular since I was a senior in high school, so 2012, which really wasn't that long ago.
Games, and I think that's why they were in that bundle, because it's 50 games on iTunes. But they're all in the same genre, which they're called endless running games.
It's a runner.
Yeah. So
okay.
Just running. Pixie, what say you?
Okay. I'm going to get into a couple of big things that I think are really important to talk about.
Are you eating?
I'm eating lemon heads. I'm sorry. I was starving. Okay. So there are a couple of inherent issues with gaming and the gaming community in general. Yes, women are underrepresented, but if you look at the portion of women who play and are considered like hardcore gamers, there aren't a whole lot of them. So yes, women are going to be underrepresented in AAA titles. It's just a fact. When it comes to mobile gaming, a lot more women play mobile games, so I find it really weird that when you look at these statistics that say that 50% of women are gamers, a lot of those statistics come from the inclusion of mobile games and Facebook games. So why are there not women in these games? That is really disturbing. And I
Well,
think
there's not. I'm not. Let me clarify. 90% of the games in that 50 app pack
I know
had boy characters for free. Only 15% offered girls for free. You had to unlock it or pay. So they were there. It just wasn't free. You know, there wasn't a male-female option to start the game.
And so I think you have to look at
money on these app games.
I think you have to look at what it really boils down to, and I do think it boils down to money. And I think it boils down to money for a couple of reasons. If women, and 50% of women are playing mobile games, then why not have female characters and charge for them? From a monetary standpoint, it's great business. Why the hell not? Why would any game company not do that? It really is. It's just smart business. They're making more money. Now the fact that they have male characters for free,
I disagree because
the fact that they have male characters for free is really shitty. Why not start off with a random robot and you have to pay money to play as a man or a woman? That would be more equal and fair. But the truth is 90% of gaming purchases are made by women. Even in terms of women buying games for boyfriends, husbands, whatever, or even themselves, women make most of the video game purchases.
Only slightly, though. In app games, it's a little different, but I think it's only like 51% of women buy games and 49% of men buy games when you're lumping them both together.
The last statistic I looked at was 76% of women.
Okay, I looked at that
by the
that
games.
PBS poll that they did a year ago.
And then I think there are some other inherent issues with this. I think there are some issues in the fact that it is assumed that people identify with video game characters more than they actually do. I forget exactly what it was, but I talked about it when we were talking about the 25 invisible benefits of male privilege while gaming. I went on a huge rant, and there's a company that actually did a study on how people identify with their video game characters and their avatars. And it actually shows that people identify less than is expected. I play video games, and I play video games specifically so I can be a dude. Like, I want to be a dude.
Hey, you're yelling at me.
Like, I want to play as a dude. I want to be able to do things that, like, I can't do in real life. I want to, run around, and I want to jump higher, and I want to see things more clearly, and I want to be, super fast and amazing. Those are all things that I want and that I like and that I enjoy from my gaming experience. And I know not everyone is the same as me. But I think by and large, these are things that we need to really look at. Do people actually identify as a gender more with the people that they're gaming in any video game? Because it may be that for the vast majority of women, that women identify more with the characters that they are than men do. That's something that we absolutely need to look at. We need to look at whether or not that's the same for men. We need to look at, preferences of the genders in gaming. Because that is the only way that you can really force equality. You can't force equality if you only look at one side of an issue. If you only look at one side of an issue, you take away from someone else and you don't actually fix the problem. You have to look at both sides and find like the nice little medium. And those are things that we should be doing that we're not. And I think that's huge. And I give this little girl mad props because, first of all, I would have been way too lazy at 12 years old to give a shit. Number two, at 12 years old, I probably wouldn't have given a shit anyway because I like to play male characters. And so, I mean, good on her for doing this. Like, mad props.
I think that the reason why things like this happen is marketing and perception. A lot of mobile games freeware, shovelware, pay to win, in-app purchases, microtransactions. A lot of these sorts of games, when they are marketed towards women and girls, they're very, very, very explicit in that. And they have there's tons of games for all sorts of different things, and a lot of them suck, and a lot of them you have to pay for no reason. Just go on the app store. It's full of all these sorts of crappy games that little girls will go and play because it's what's marketed towards them. The unfortunate side effect of when you think of a game that's marketed to a girl, if that's what you think of in your head are these sorts of crappy, weird, shallow games, is that
Shallow's a good word.
the other side of that is that all of the other types of games can't be marketed towards girls. So the developers of those games, if they're not marketing their games towards girls, then having the girl characters and being welcoming towards different groups of people isn't going to be as high a priority, and that's why this happened. That's why the characters were by default male, because that wasn't a type of app game that girls would play. So it wasn't marketed towards girls at all. It's very complex, and it's very interesting. If
we have to say, when these games came out, that was the standard. They weren't primarily, if at all, played by females. And now that things are changing, and we see that diversity issues are not necessarily at the forefront, but they're becoming more realized in our overall everyday lifestyle as a human being. Doesn't matter if you're a gamer or not. It has become something that the generation behind us has decided not to tolerate, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah.
Our generation, we were like, go to the toy store, pink or blue.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you don't have that with these kids coming up. And the reason why I can say that with all certainty is because of my daughter. I have a young girl who has broken that mold, and I've had to learn to totally remap my brain as a parent and understand where she's coming from, to be able to break some of those habits that I was taught when I was growing up by my mother. And I mother her the same because she's not the same child or the same generation. There are things that I say to her or I will buy for her, and she'll look at me like I have two heads, because why would I even show her this pair of pants or blouse? I won't even say blouse because that word's not allowed either. Or maybe a t-shirt that I think is really cute or cool, and she looks at me like, you've got to be kidding me. Not because she's a teenager, because of the child that she is. She doesn't see gender roles, color, sexual identity. Any of those things are not in her wheelhouse, because you're a human being, and that's how she sees the world, which is why I decided to take it upon myself to be able to do the Scholarship Foundation, because these types of kids are who I want to be governing our nation, creating, medicines that cure other people, and changing our whole human race, because we obviously can't do it. We're still stuck at, is it a male-female thing? Is it a black-white thing? Is it a this, that, or the other? And these kids see way past that.
I think there's a lot of both. I think that gender marketing is still a thing that largely remains in mobile games.
I think in marketing overall, in every aspect.
It does.
Right.
It exists everywhere.
It's no longer pink or blue. A lot of it is pink, or then just like a vague shade of gray, right?
Purple.
Well, anything. There are games being created that are marketed towards girls, and because a lot of these diversity issues are handled so shoddily, those types of games get funneled down into the freeware and the apps and the mobile games. And that's where young children are being directed now. They're not being directed to go into the store and buy console games anymore, because largely most of those that are high budget are created for adults. They are M-rated.
Yes.
Children buy games on mobile platforms, and the girls are going to look for, the games that have animals and dolls and all those sorts of games that are marketed towards girls. They're going to have girl stuff everywhere. That's going to be great. But the games that aren't like Temple Run or whatever other sorts of neutral-ish sort of mobile game that just gets really popular, they're not going to prioritize that as much, so it's going to fall through the cracks.
Absolutely.
My daughter loves My Little Pony. She loves My Little Pony. So does her uncle. And
is he a brony? Because I love my bronies.
God, is he
love my bronies.
He's a brony with a beard. He's
awesome.
A brony. And she has a Nobby. And a Nobby is just a child's android. and there is a My Little Pony game on it that we purchased for her, and it's full of microtransactions. And it'll stop her, like a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 6-year-old, stop them in the middle of the game and ask them if they want to purchase something. And one of my first conventions that I covered as a writer was BronyCon. I went to BronyCon under a press pass, and there were a lot of game developers there who were talking about these really cool My Little Pony based games. And in the panels, we were filled with guys. Plenty of guys would have loved to play this game, but you know what? My daughter probably would have loved to have played them too, and she probably would have liked them a hell of a ton more than the crappy, knobby, Android version of My Little Pony that is available for her now, where she kind of walks around in a circle and hopes to find treasure chests with carrots in it and can sometimes customize a character very limitedly. But that's what my daughter is finding when I'm looking at girl games for her that she's interested in. My daughter is very interested in things that are girly. She's very conscious of that. She's 6 years old. She's figuring out what her identity is, and part of what's important to her identity is that she's a girl and these are the things that she likes. And it's hard to find games that are new. I have plenty of older games for her that are fine, but it's hard to find games that are new, that appeal to her in that way, that are not trying to drain me as her parent or her if she was older for everything that's in her pocket. And that's alarming.
I'm gonna close the topic with this. Back in the day when we played games, and this is me being the old-time gamer at the table, games were not based upon gender. They were based upon the game and your play style and what you were doing. I go back to Atari. You had Missile Command, you had Q*bert, you had Donkey Kong, you had Mario Brothers. The Nintendo games. Those games were not whether you have male or female or whether you had those diversity issues. It was the game, and whether it sucked or not, we were like, I'm gonna play it. E.T. was one of the worst games in history, but I played the hell out of some E.T. It was such a bad game, but I played as E.T. and I was okay with that. I love that fact about gaming. That's why I think for me, I'm so nostalgic and so still an adult gamer, because I miss those days and I don't see that kind of play or things happening in the industry where you just talk about the game as a gamer to another gamer. And what we're getting now is a lot of why I don't like it. It's because this, and this, and it's a larger issue now for us why we don't like things. Whether it's the microtransactions, whether it's indie or AAA, whether it's diversity, and we could go on and on. I think we do this every week. We pick some topic and we latch onto it. Games not being launched properly. They're not finished, which is one of the ones we get stuck on a lot of times. We have all those things that bother us, but I haven't heard in a long time something that we all can...
Oh my god, that's so good. Pong is ball.
I love Pong.
Are male. Channeling Anita Whackness.
Pixie lost her shit. But what I was going to say at the end of that was I haven't found that one thing that we all can come together and say this is why we love our community. We've kind of lost sight of that as gamers. And I'm hoping that by us working together, at least here at the round table, bringing in people like you, Philip, and others that want to come in and talk about why this industry is so important, why this is our everyday lives. This is not just a hobby for us. This isn't something that we just dabble in. This is part of who we are. And we want to share those experiences with you guys in chat. And Philip, we thank you for coming and joining us tonight. I hope you had a good time. I know all the ladies enjoyed the conversation.
I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me and letting me talk about all the cool stuff that we're doing right now.
Awesome. So guys, this is your last time chance to throw up some questions in chat. We'll give you a couple more minutes to throw those up while we do our shout outs. And after that, you're going to have to catch Philip on his Twitter, YouTube, or wherever he's at. We'll have Ian throw that stuff up. And of course, the studio, you're going to look for that game. You can do the pre-orders. Remember that pre-orders are available. And I believe it's going to be on Humble Bundle too. Am I right?
Our pre-orders actually run through Humble Bundle. So you can pre-order on Humble Bundle on our website. Also, the film is coming out on May 19th on wide release on most major video-on-demand platforms, Amazon, iTunes, Google Play. It's also going to be on PlayStation and Xbox, which we're extremely excited about because it's going to be on game consoles. So hopefully we can get some of those nasty gamer bros to stumble onto our film on their own console and watch it and learn something. It's going to be great.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to go to our shout-outs. And Philip, what this is where we take some time at the end of our show to give some shout-outs to the peeps that we love and the peeps that have influenced us and or just the person that cut you off on the road yesterday, whatever you want to do. All right, so I'm going to go with Paige first.
My shout-outs go this week to Gaming Rebellion and to Another Castle. That's all.
That's all? All right. Kim.
I'm gonna have to give some streamers a shout out. I've been popping in more people's streams recently, just going in and kind of looking at some people and trying to expand our community out a little bit. And so I'm definitely gonna give some shout outs to Poke Your Eyes Out Games, as always, because they're beautiful. That's who I got the idea from. I've really been inspired by them. Yeah, been really inspired by them in the last couple months, trying to make the Twitch community really, really good. Because there's some really, really bad on it. Envy Me With Love. She might be streaming right now, in fact. She's been playing Final Fantasy VII, and she's a Hearthstone streamer. She's super sweet, really cares about her viewers, really interacts with you. Taylor Lee, she does H1Z1. She's a really great streamer as well. And, you know, I think if Zombie's still here, I might have to talk a little bit about my butt buddy. I love him so much.
Hugs.
I do. I believe that he everybody should go over to his stream because I think that he's probably one of the most underrated people that I watch. I really do love to go watch him, and I really want to see more people in his
I agree.
I believe that he could go somewhere.
I'll give Zombie the Shriv stamp of approval, especially when he's playing some Smite, because he's a really good Smite player. Whether he likes it or not, he plays the hell out of some Smite.
He is a beast. He says he's not good at any other game but Smite. But Smite is his game. Like, faux show. And
by the way, if you haven't been over to Kim or Zombie stream lately, they've got some Magic Smite giveaways for you guys. So we're talking some alpha codes for Smite on console.
Which I'm totally jelly, by the way.
And also, I got one for you. Don't worry. Also, some skins. We got more skins. So go over and check them out. Give them a follow, because if you want those skins, that's where you're going to get them from.
And then,
oh, you're not done. I apologize.
Just one more.
Sure.
Cranberry! Who she'll be getting a lovely birthday gift. Your documentary comes out on her birthday, so we're definitely gonna have to watch that. That's a really great gift, actually.
That's wonderful.
We definitely will be watching that on her birthday. We're gonna put that into her celebration.
Thank you so much.
We love a cranberry.
Oh yeah.
Happy early birthday. I will probably be busy that day. So I'll say it to you now.
Aww.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pix.
So shout outs to my duo bro.
My
duo bro. We've been to Bad Lanes and back. Shout outs to Icy as always. Shout outs to, oh my god, headset cord, so stupid. Shout outs to my headset cord for consistently getting stuck in my chair, which is really obnoxious. Shout outs to Netflix for Daredevil. Oh my god, I love you. And I would make out with Netflix's face if it had one. I don't know. And shout outs to you guys for being here. Thank you for being here, Philip. It's been awesome.
I had a lovely time having this conversation. I'd love to come back anytime.
You have an open invitation, sir, and your shout-outs whenever you're ready.
I'm going to give a shout-out to first Matt Kahn, who is the founder of GamerX. He's the mastermind who put all of these things together from behind the curtains, and he's an incredible person and inspires all of us all the time with his drive to do work and his drive for activism, and hardworking guy, so in love with video games and the community that we've been able to foster as we get more, well known, and people come to GamerX and be like, "Hey, what's this gay gaming group?" And they meet people, and that's always the best moment. So Matt Kahn is the person who's, behind all of this, and our fearless leader. So I wanted to shout out to him. Shout outs to the entire Read Only Memories development team: JJ, Ted, Alex, Casio, and Too Mellow. And then, I don't know. Shout outs to Seth Rollins, new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. I'm a wrestling fan. If anybody wants to talk wrestling with me, tweet at me. I'll
tweet him. He'll talk all day. Wow.
At wrestling now. Did you play any of the old wrestling games on the PlayStation? The first
No,
one?
I'm actually a somewhat recent wrestling fan. I've only been watching for about a year, but I've played the new ones, and I met the people at 2K and got to have a couple of matches with them, and I kicked Jared Ray's ass. So.
Awesome.
Speaking of which, we have some of those 2K games to give away, so stay tuned. And if you haven't followed Ladies of the Roundtable channel, we got them on Xbox and Xbox One. All right, is it my turn? Is it my turn? I don't want to cut you off. All done there, Philip? Sweet. All right, so my shout-outs are to Cranberry back there. Cranberry, yep, there she is, Cranberry, for holding Kimmy down, making sure she's not losing her mind, and both you guys, while you're in school, doing such a great job and growing in the community and sending out the positive vibes that you do, both of you guys. I also want to give a shout out to our Origin PC family and our Origin PC crossover streamers. Because LORT and Origin have created a blended family, and we have streamers coming over from their stream team, I can say it, to ours to share the love, and also vice versa. You will be soon seeing Pixie over there on their channel, and you've already hopefully saw Kim on their channel and check them out. We have our own Sick Gaming Live over on their channel, as well as Supra on their channel as well. So great content over there, and more cross content coming over here to push that positive vibe that we're doing. I also want to give a shout out to my friends over at Game Dev House. If you haven't looked them up and see what they're doing over there, doing some great things. We'll be working with them tremendously throughout the rest of 2015. And I also want to give a shout out to folks over at Indie PopCon for giving my first LEGO League Robotics team an open arms invitation over to Indie PopCon to showcase their robotics skills as educational team over there, and it's going to be fantastic. Their minds are going to be blown when they get to Indie PopCon. To be 12 years old, going to a convention as an exhibitor, and having enough space for three exhibits to do their thing is going to be amazing. They're actually going to be on TV as well, so it's going to be fun. There'll probably be some puking before they do their thing. I don't know. But I hope to come back with a great progress report and make some connections for them as well as us. And to you guys in chat, thanks for coming every week to sit at the table with us and listen to us banter about the things that we love. We couldn't do it without you, and we love the commentary. I think we had a straw poll that we were throwing up.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't get to it. We'll get to it next week. And Nikki, shout outs to you. Hopefully you'll be back next week. And producer Ian, as always, thanks for doing the thing. I hear, producer Ian, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we'll get to hear your voice, that we may actually have our soundboard working for next show next week.
Woo!
Yeah.
There's a soundboard and I missed it?
Yeah, you have to come back, right?
We do, of course, have some way to do bombs over Baghdad on this, correct?
She's gonna be devastated if we don't.
Yeah, I'm working on the configuration, and then you'll have to send me the sounds you want on it once I finish configuring it.
Oh boy, you might get okay, listen, ladies, I'm gonna just throw it out right now. Executive decision. You send one email with at least six, most 10 sounds. You can't bombard him with like 120 at one time. It's not going to happen. Ian's brain will explode. So let's ease him into it. So be careful. We don't want producer Ian to just fall over. A lot of buttons on that thing. A lot of buttons on that thing. All right, guys. And next week's guest is going to be, drum roll, if we had a sound machine. Here we go. It's going to be Richard James Cook, the director from Pixel Poetry. And if you haven't seen that indie film, it's also amazing. We were going to kind of be going on an indie roundup to showcase a lot of these documentaries to you guys, because if you didn't see it on the Twitch movie night, or if you haven't been able to buy it and see it, we want to make sure that you know that these types of things exist and they're in your wheelhouse. So check them out. We'll make sure that we get the information into the bottom of the chat down there like we always do, and we'll throw out some tweets later in the week. Please retweet when we tweet, guys, and share so that we have more people in the chat, because more people we get, the larger our giveaways get. You know, we have lots of things in the giveaway prize closet. I've got all kinds of stuff. You guys can't see back there. There's some headsets. I've got posters. I've got stuff, and my husband is trying to steal it, so I'd rather give it to you guys than allow him to keep saying, I need a new headset. These are broken. They're not broken. He just wants shiny new toys. So that's it from me. Shout outs to chat. Do we have a chat MVP? Or does
probably Yurik.
Arcade Android still own the crown? Yurik, what do you guys think? Paige?
I think Android still
Android
has that.
still
over
Oh,
him.
you can't
Yeah.
ask Paige. She's biased.
That's her boyfriend.
Android has some of the best interview questions I've ever seen.
We're talking
in
chat.
general.
All right, so Pixie,
Well,
what do you
he
think?
participates in the chat for the guests, and I think that
Pixie?
he always takes it.
I think Ulrich is awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So the tiebreaker would be me, because sorry, Philip wasn't around for Android last show. So I'm gonna say,
I think Urich and Android should definitely
Battle
duke
it
it
out.
out. Urich has
was
to come
gonna-
back next week, and Android better be here.
I was gonna say, I think I'm throwing down
Oh, shots have been fired.
All right, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cash in my money in the bank. I saw that Lethal Prime wanted a shout out, so I'm gonna get Lethal Prime. It's now a triple threat match. And I'm counting for the underdog.
Yeah.
Next week, Lethal Prime.
All right.
I better hear that you made me proud.
This
Shots
is
fired.
like some Thunderdome shit.
Yeah,
Except
some
for it's gonna be
Thunderdome.
3
All right.
men enter, 1 man leaves.
So I want Kim and Pixie to think of a great tweet and tag those 3 and throw down the challenge for next week's show. It is Thunderdome. We're gonna wait, and you know what, Philip, you can come back and sit and chat with us next week and see how this goes down, because there might be some wagers going on.
I would love to be on the other side of the show and just watch y'all have fun. This has been great.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Join us next week, same bat time, same bat channel, for another episode of Ladies of the Roundtable Live. Catch us on the Twitter for all our engagements and announcements and giveaways. Roundtable out. Dance it out, ladies and gentlemen. Do your thing. Put the music on. Roll it. Roll those credits.
Cranberry.
It's time to give White Girl Flirt.
Cranberry's breaking it down.
A White Girl Flirt.
You're like,
White Girl Flirt.
am I doing it? I don't know. Am I twerking?
Probably. You're probably.
Kim, you got enough ass back there that you would be twerking.
got
Come on
it.
now.
We got our own twerking wall in the living room. It's good.